For the first time in years, South Africa isn't living by the load shedding schedule, but don't celebrate just yet. The lights are on, the diesel burn is down, and government says we've turned a corner. But is this the real end of load shedding, or just political theater with a ticking time bomb beneath the grid? Today on SA Unfiltered, we expose the truth behind the so-called energy miracle. Because in a country where darkness became normal, sudden light always demands a second look. For the first time in what feels like forever, South Africans are waking up without checking the load shedding schedule first. The silence of the lights staying on is almost suspicious. Eskom's grid is more stable, rolling blackouts have been suspended for weeks, and government officials are parading success across every podium. But here's the real question: is load shedding truly ending, or is this just the calm before the next blackout storm? Because if there's one thing we've learned in this country, it's to never trust the light until you've seen the bill. In the lead up to the 2024 elections, something incredible happened. Eskom, once synonymous with dysfunction, corruption, and diesel panic, suddenly pulled itself together. The power cuts that had become daily life were paused. The air was clearer. The noise was gone. For the first time in over a decade, the grid seemed calm. But many South Africans didn't celebrate, they raised their eyebrows. After years of endless promises, missed targets, and manipulated messages, this sudden surge in stability felt a little too convenient. The timing? Impeccable. The motivation? Obvious. But post-elections, the lights are still on. So let's take a deeper look at what's really going on. Eskom leadership claims that improved maintenance, a crackdown on sabotage, and more generation units returning to service are the reasons for the stability. Diesel burn was cut. Criminal syndicates at power stations were exposed. And for the first time, certain power plants began operating at their actual capacity. Some even exceeded expectations. After years of denial, it seems the state finally acknowledged what the public has always known: corruption and criminality were baked into the power system. Ramaphosa's administration is now waving the "a load shedding is ending" banner with pride. But let's be real, stabilization is not victory. Fixing something you've broken doesn't earn you applause. It earns you scrutiny. And South Africans are watching this new normal with careful eyes. Because behind the press briefings and charts lies a more complicated truth. The real backbone of this temporary relief isn't just internal Eskom reforms, it's private energy. The government, under intense pressure, finally opened the grid to private sector investment. Regulations were relaxed, and suddenly, companies began generating their own power at scale. Solar farms, battery storage systems, and independent power producers began feeding the national network. For the first time, the monopoly was dented, and that shift, not Eskom alone, is what's keeping the lights on. So here's the thing: are we witnessing the end of load shedding, or just a handover from public failure to private innovation? And if it's the latter, what does that mean for the average citizen who can't afford to go off-grid? Is stability being bought by the wealthy while the poor are still vulnerable to the next Eskom collapse? And then there's winter, the real test. The grid is always most vulnerable during cold months when energy demand spikes. If we make it through winter without significant blackouts, that will be a real milestone. But if the system collapses again under pressure, then the illusion will be shattered, and all the pre-election bragging will be exposed for what it is: clever timing, not long-term reform. It's important to remember the damage already done. Load shedding didn't just inconvenience people, it destroyed businesses, killed jobs, damaged healthcare services, disrupted schooling, and cost the economy billions. No apology has been offered for that. No one has been held accountable. The architects of this disaster, from captured ministers to complicit executives, have walked away free. So before we light the fireworks for a load-shedding-free South Africa, we need to ask, where is the justice? Where is the accountability? Eskom still carries massive debt. Its infrastructure is still aging. Its workers are still divided. And despite improvements, the grid is still fragile. 1 or 2 breakdowns in major units can send us right back to stage 4. That's not security, that's survival. What we need is not a few good weeks, but a decade of energy policy that actually works. We need redundancy, innovation, and vision, not slogans and band-aids. There's also a geopolitical layer to all this. South Africa's energy reform is now tied to international climate finance. Billions in loans and grants are flowing in from global partners under the Just Energy Transition Plan. But who controls that money? Who ensures it isn't looted like so many other national projects? We've seen this story before, money earmarked for the poor ending up in the pockets of the politically connected. If we don't build transparent systems around energy funding, we'll just repeat the same corrupt cycles in a new, greener uniform. The shift toward renewables is crucial, and it's happening faster than most predicted. Rooftop solar is booming. Communities are experimenting with microgrids. Even local municipalities are exploring ways to ditch Eskom. This decentralization of power, literally and figuratively, is the most exciting part of South Africa's energy story right now. It's no longer just about keeping the lights on. It's about who controls the switch. That's why the next phase is so critical. Will the government embrace energy democracy, where every citizen can participate, produce, and benefit? Or will it protect the old monopolies and gatekeepers who profit from crisis? That decision will shape not just our power supply, but our political future. So let's answer the big question, is load shedding truly ending? Not yet. But it's shifting. The conditions that caused it, corruption, incompetence, monopolization, are finally being challenged. If South Africa can maintain the reforms, root out sabotage, invest in renewables, and build a smarter, fairer grid, then yes, we could finally bury load shedding once and for all. But it will take more than speeches. It will take courage and consistency. Because here's the truth, South Africans are no longer fooled. We've seen the darkness. We've lived in it. We won't celebrate until the candles are packed away for good. This is SA Unfiltered, your home for sharp insight, bold analysis, and fearless truth. If you're tired of excuses, if you demand more from those in power, then hit that subscribe button now. Join a community that questions everything and settles for nothing less than honesty. The power struggle isn't over, it's just entering a new phase. And we'll be right here, uncovering every spark, every silence, and every spin.